Right, we're a small group, so I won't use the microphone. Can you hear me up there? Everything good? Okay. So I'll be giving this talk in English. Hope that's okay for everyone. If not, I can't speak Spanish yet, so sorry about that. This talk will be about panels, doing stuff with panels in Drupal 7. The general layout of the talk for today is 3 parts. First, I want to talk a little bit about getting started, what the panels thing actually is. Like, why does it exist? Why do we use it? What's the use case? Why is panels interesting in the first place? And now we look a little bit about practical stuff, like how do we actually build a panel and what are the kind of things that we can do with panels. Secondly, we're going to go a bit deeper and look at the different kinds of panels. So we have panel nodes, node panels, mini panels, panels panes. So there's lots of things in the panels ecosystem. And I'll just explain a little bit what those different things are, so you don't get confused about like trying to get started with panels and being overwhelmed with all these related topics. And then lastly, my colleague Salva will talk a little bit about more advanced stuff, like more add-on modules on top of panels to do some more advanced stuff. And we look a little bit at coding. Like if you would like to make your own plugins into the panel system, we'll see one example of how you would do this code-wise. Just to get you started and just to show that it's not more difficult than any other basic Drupal module that you would build. That's the general idea. The intended audience is people who are already familiar with building stuff in Drupal. So if you're completely new to Drupal, this might be a little bit difficult. So your basic concepts of building stuff in Drupal should already be familiar. Secondly, the other audience is people who already know how to build panels, who've used panels roughly, simply, but would like to see what more they can do, how they can take it to the next step. So it's both for beginners and people with a little bit of experience. If you already have a lot of panels experience, then this is not a session for you. Then you will not learn anything and... Okay, welcome. Right, so English, and this is the audience. So if you don't really fit in this audience, there's still time to go to another session. There's still time. There's no hard feelings. If you realize that maybe this isn't a session for you, you can just move on to another session. So don't feel obliged to stay. But if you do want to go on, you can just get started. So any questions up front? Everyone can understand me? Okay. We'll have time for questions at the end. Like if you have specific questions that you didn't really understand, something that I discussed, that I explained, I'd be happy to re-explain at the end. On the other hand, if you just didn't understand what I said, if I was talking too quickly or my English was not really good, just raise your hand and I'll just say again what I said. So if you just didn't hear what I say, don't hesitate to ask. If you really have questions about not understanding stuff or technical stuff or wanting a re-explanation, that will do towards the end. Okay? Good. The obligatory little bit of promotional content. So I am Joeri. I work at Code Enigma with my colleague Salva, who will jump in at the end. You can find us on Twitter and Drupal.org and everywhere else. We both work for Code Enigma, which is a company in the UK. And we do a lot of hosting, a lot of enterprise consulting, development, training, and content strategy. Those are like the big focus of what we do, ISO certified. Very last commercial slide. These are the kind of clients that we tend to work with. So either we build stuff, but more often than other, we join a team that is already doing stuff in-house. So we help teams that do stuff in-house build their Drupal sites. So we reinforce existing teams rather than taking a project from A to Z in-house. So that said, Right. Welcome. This talk will be in English, not a problem?
Not a problem.
Okay. Right. So the very first thing I would like to know, who has already done something with panels? Or rather, is there someone who hasn't done anything with panels at all? Everybody knows a little bit about panels? That's good. Who has already used it or uses it on a daily basis or often uses it in projects? Okay. Anyone already doing advanced stuff like building their own panel plugins and their own coding and semantic stuff and retemplating and okay, a little bit. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So for this last group, I don't know if I'm going to be really explaining new stuff, but I do hope that like the whole overview of panels is a good refresher of all the things in the ecosystem. Okay. So the very first thing about panels, but everyone already uses panels a little bit, so they all know the panels module is. But it's basically a thing that lets you visually create layouts on your site, and then put stuff like blocks or other things in those regions of your layout. So when we talk about layouts, we talk about things like this. Layout, the word layout in this context, just means something like a 2-column layout or a 3-column layout or a stacked layout or whatever kind of layout that you would like to use in your site design or in specific places of your site design. Right? So that's the first step. That's layouts. The second part of the definition was like a graphic user interface. Once we've decided, for instance, that we're going to be using a 2-column layout, like this one, we use a 2-column layout, we select this one. The next part is a GUI to actually manage stuff in that 2-column layout. So the panels interface looks something like this, a representation of your 2 panels, and within those, well, your 2 regions of your panel, the left region and the right region, and then within those regions you can put stuff. Stuff being blocks, but also other things, as we'll see later. That's the general idea, okay? Just a starting point. That's panels. So the concept of choosing or defining regions, 2 columns, 3 columns, whatever, and then putting stuff in there. That's a general premise of working with it. But then the question is why? Why do we need this panel system if we already have the theme system, the normal Drupal theme system, which has regions, and those regions are available to you in the block system to put blocks in those regions. So that's exactly what we already do without using panels. So the question is now, if you're not familiar with panels, what does this panels thing do that the normal theme system doesn't do? Because it seems to be doing the same thing, right? I'm not talking too fast? Okay. So yes, the theme system is indeed similar. Theme system does have regions. This could be a theme with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 regions available for you to put blocks in there. So it's really flexible. So yes, it's good. It's interesting. It is flexible. Sometimes if you have a very complicated theme, maybe a little bit too flexible, because there are themes like this with a bunch of regions. But some themes are this complex, because if you don't use panels, you need something with all these available regions for all your different use cases across your site. If on certain sections of your site you want to have a sidebar on the left-hand side, and in other sections you want to have a sidebar on the right hand, and in another section you want to have 3 columns. All these different use cases in the normal theme system have to come from one big theme template with all these potential regions available for you to play with. So if you have lots of different layouts and only have the theme system, you have to have a theme with all these regions so that you can really puzzle and play with them, right? So that kind of becomes complicated and tricky. Why does panels exist? Two groups of reasons, to me at least. One group of reasons is that the normal standard core regions system with the block system has limitations, to me, to other people as well. To me, these are the most important limitations of the block systems. Everyone has used regions and blocks and put block in regions, so that concept is clear for everyone. Everyone knows how to build sites in Drupal. Okay. So to me, you can only put blocks in regions in the normal theme system. No forms or no other things unless you install other modules, other contributed modules that let you have nodes as blocks or forms as blocks or other things as blocks. So you have to install other modules to put other stuff in your theme regions other than blocks. By default, you can't put anything else in there than blocks. Any given block, like the login block, can only be put in one region. You can't say, on this page, put that block in the left-hand side, and on that page, put it in the right-hand side. It's not possible by default. Complicated display logic. You have some visibility settings like show this block on these pages or show this for these users, for these roles. So there is some logic that you can use to define which blocks go where, but it's very limited. You can't have really complex settings, and you can't have like very contextual information like if this block appears alongside a node of this type, then show this block or something along those lines. That is not possible. Also, exporting and deploying blocks is a nightmare because blocks themselves are not exportable into features, for instance, unless you install again other modules like UUID and maybe features extras and some other stuff on top to get this exportable mechanism. With a standard theme system, it's really tricky unless you have a very complicated theme, like I said, to have like a one-column layout on your home page and a three-column layout on your user pages and a five-column layout on another section and have all those different scenarios with just one theme becomes tricky. You have to have a complicated theme with all these regions and then it becomes difficult to theme as well. And a slight disadvantage, if you're all picturing the blocks interface, like in this complicated theme, this one, if you have the blocks interface and you need to put your blocks into a certain region, the normal blocks interface just shows one region after the other in alphabetic order or in the order defined in your theme info file. So if you have all these regions, the actual management screen of putting those blocks in the user 2 or the user 6 or the inset left block, it becomes meaningless because in the blocks interface you don't really see where these zones are. So it becomes really, really tricky to know which is the correct region in which you would like to put your block. So the interface itself is not optimal. This one? Yes. Right? So the panel system addresses all these issues. So already good reason to start using panels is to have something like the block system, but that doesn't have these limitations. And after 2 or 3 slides, we'll actually just go into a Drupal site and build some panels, and you will see what it all means. But you've already built panels, so that'll be easy. The second thing, where panels is really, really interesting in my point of view, is something, I call it micro layouts, but it's not really the correct term either. It's the possibility of breaking apart, let's say, a node view page or a node edit form, breaking it apart with panels and having, for instance, the ability to reorganize your node view in 2 columns. On one column, an image with tags underneath, and in the right column, the title and the body and maybe some other fields. Like a very simple use case. If you don't have panels, then the only way to do this is to build your own custom template file with your whole region markup in there for every use case. So if you have certain nodes with a 2-column layout and certain nodes with a 3-column layout, and all these things, and you're going to have to build a bunch of template files and manually build all this markup. With the panel system, you don't have to do this. With the panel system, it's really easy to break apart node edit pages, so the node view pages, edit forms, and just rearrange your forms without writing any template code. It's really quickly. You don't have to write template files. Secondly, there's much more logic going on within pages and variants and selection criteria and contextual information. You have many more elements at your disposal to define at what point a certain block should be shown in a certain region or a certain variant, as we'll see, become active. So you can say, use this layout when today is Wednesday and we're looking at an article and the current user is not logged in, and all these different criteria, all these things are available in the panel system, or you could write your own little plugin to add some more criteria, like if the detected device is a tablet, then show this. That's the way that you would like to go. All these things are available to you in the panel system, but not in the block system. So if you have complex logic of when a certain layout should be shown or not, and panels allows you to do this. To me, those are the two big groups of reasons why panels is interesting. So far, with me? Nothing new? Everyone knew this, or? Okay. Since you've all built panels, like some people came in, of all the people who came in, have you all already built something with panels? Everyone is familiar with panels? Anyone who's never played with panels at all? No. Okay. And I don't really need to go deeply into this. The page manager lets you override a basic menu system and say, for these specific paths, use a panel layout rather than the normal standard layout. Each page can have one or more variants. We'll see if variants are not familiar. We'll see them in detail when we just have an example. Every panel basically has some selection criteria, or every variant has selection criteria saying this thing should become active when these conditions are met. Lastly, for each variant that you define, you need to say which kind of layout you'd like, a 2-column layout, a 3-column layout, 5-column layout, and then you have those regions available for you to put blocks and other things in it. That's a general concept. Lastly, there's one little checkbox somewhere that is often overlooked that lets you switch between two modes. Basically, you can say that this panel that you defined, this, let's say, 2-column layout in blue, should either take over the whole of your page, so should completely override any themes that might be in your region. So if you have a theme with a left sidebar and a right sidebar, you could say that the panel that you're building, variant that you are building, should completely disregard any sidebars and just completely take over the page, or just put itself into the content area, where just the content area would be split in two and you have a left and a right. So for every panel you can choose whether that panel will be rendered just in the main content area of your theme or should take over the whole page, right? Good. Quick questions so far? No? No. How are we for time? Okay. Right. Who hasn't built like a custom panel yet? A system. You haven't built a panel yet? Okay. No panel yet? No panel yet. Okay. Okay. So you all know, so you know what panels is, but you haven't built your own panels yet. Okay. Good. Then I have 4 quick scenarios that I'll run through with you, step by step, click, 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 through the first 4 scenarios. And then later on, we'll do some more complicated things if time allows it. Let's see, how does this work? Right here.
You change the resolution.
Oh, okay.
Because it changing 9 to a big one. I had to change it 1 way. It was just a bit.
Yeah.
It's not scaled.
Scale?
Oh,
Okay.
sheets to the other, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see this. What should it be?
Scale.
Yeah?
Yeah, but select it first. It's not selected there.
Wait, it is selected here.
Yeah, but that's for this display.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one?
Use that one, yeah. I think that should work. That's
No, it's not picking it up. Ah, there we are.
So, okay, so you shouldn't need to go with that one there. Not the best.
This is the same.
En dan wordt het alleen. Nee, hoezo?
Maybe is it fit
Yeah, that might work. Yeah. Right. Just going to mirror. I'm going to mirror my displays because I can't.
duplicate, yeah.
Okay. Good. So what I have here is a plain Drupal 7, plainly installed Drupal 7 install. I've installed the CTools module, which is a dependency of panels. I've installed panels. I've installed views, because we'll look at a views integration example later on. I've installed the devel module, which lets you generate content like that. So I've just generated a bunch of nodes with random images, just so we would have test content. And that's it. So otherwise, this is just a plain, freshly installed Drupal site yesterday, 2 days ago. Right? So first thing that you need to do, how are we? So we're enabling CTools, we are enabling the page manager, this one. And then in the panels section, just the panels module, this one. The other ones we'll look at later on. Okay, that's it. So once enabled, under structure, the page manager interface pops up. Sorry about the resolution, it's a bit crappy. So the page manager comes up. Page manager lets you either define new pages or override some predefined pages that exist. The first simple case, we're just going to be building a new new page with a panel variant from scratch. We won't override anything that exists, just make something new. And then in the second example, we'll look at overriding something that already exists. Okay, that'll become clear. So in a very simple use case, we'll make a new page. The idea being, for instance, that we make a new home page. Let's say that we want a 2-column or 3-column page that will serve as our home page. Okay? make a new custom page. Right. I have to give it a path because every page has a path. So I'll just call it home page or something along those lines. Immediately I can indicate that I want this page as my home page. This actually just sets the value in your site information homepage value as well, so it's just the same thing. Right. You indicate that the variant, like the kind of thing, we'll look at variants a little later, but the kind of thing should be a panel. So what you're building with this page is a page built up out of panel. So panel is good. And we will not look at any specific options here. We'll just go with the default option, no selection criteria, just the most simple use case we can think of. So we give it a name, a path, and then we need to say what kind of panels we want. By default, when you install panels, you have two options. 1, 2, 3 column layout or something called builders. I'll just select the 3 column layout now. Know that the builders option gives you another interface where you can define 1 column, 2 column, 3 columns, a region, and then 2 columns, and then another region, and then 3 columns, and then whatever, either in flexible width, in percentage based, or pixel based, or whatever. So it gives you, you can completely visually build your layout. If you're a themer or if you're a developer, you want to go more into detail, you have your own layouts, specific layouts that you want to provide, you can do that as well. So you can just hook into the panel system with a couple of hook implementations and a template file that you put in the right place, and then your custom layouts will be available here as well. So if you have a specific university 5 column layout that matches your design, you can build that markup, you can put it in there, and then you have a 5 column panel available for you to use whenever you want. Okay? So if we say 3 columns, there are 4 options in this case that we can use. We'll just have the standard 3 column, like this. Continue. Then you have a few options. This is the infamous checkbox on there. Disable Drupal blocks or regions. So if you want this panel to be the whole of your screen, you say disable blocks and regions, so it takes over everything. If not, it'll just put itself in the content region of your theme. You can remove body classes and add body classes. So if you have specific style sheets that you want to be, or specific CSS rules that you want to apply, you can add your specific body class here. Then you can target this specific panel more easily. Right? Just keep everything standard. Right? We can give it a title, we can override title, we won't go into this. We have our 3 columns available here. We can put stuff in there. I keep saying stuff because there's more than blocks to put in there. So I say stuff to say a whole lot of things can be put into these regions. Right? Okay. It's not really clear on this screen, but there is a cog here. It's the Spanish cog. Rueda? Rueda. Okay. Here. So there's these cogs, ruedas, here. That gives you a context menu. I don't know if you can see it on screen. If you click on it, yes. Okay. So depending on other modules that you have installed and your own settings, you may have more options here, but by default, you may have some options about the style, but more importantly, adding content. And this is where you see the difference already with the block system. The normal theme system, you just have your list of blocks and you say, put this block in this region and that's it. Here you have a whole screen of things, stuff that you can put in these regions, grouped by something. Grouped by the module that provided it or grouped logically. Okay. You see mini panel here because I've already enabled the mini panel module, but that's for the next step. So normally you don't see the mini panel, you don't see the custom stuff because that's also part of the training. And you don't see training because that's also part of the training. So what kind of things do you see in there? All our blocks that are available in the system, in the normal block system, are also available here for us to put in our panel regions. So the user login block, the search form, etc. I'll put the search form in the right. I can put, let's say, miscellaneous. What do I have here? Menus. I can put the navigation menu in the middle, so my menus are available. And powered by Drupal. Okay. It's a very simple use case. I have a 3-column layout and I've put 3 blocks in them. Okay? Right. All the settings that we just enabled, are spread over these menu options. So all these things will just have a subset of all the options that we just entered. So you won't find any new things in there, just nicely split up. So that's it. Our page is done. You can update and save. This was our homepage, our standard homepage. If we reload it, if everything went well, we now have a 3-column layout. So there's something going on with the width and the height, and this doesn't have a title, and so we'll have to see what goes on. I think it's because the whole screen is a bit compressed. Okay? It doesn't look like much, but it's just a demonstration of the principle. Okay? So far, question? Questions? Yes?
You know, I always when I use panels, I find them a little bit slow compared to things. And they are very resource hungry.
Okay.
Is there anything I can do?
Okay, so the question was, or the remark was, that panels rendering or panel system seems slow, seems resource intensive, seems, okay. We will address that at the end.
Okay.
Otherwise I'll squish and I'll run out of time, but I'll try to address that at the end. I also think Salva. 10 minutes left? Okay.
We can always do a lot if people want
Yes.
some questions or something.
Yeah. Okay. 10 minutes left and I'm at the end of part 1. 5 minutes left. Is that with the Q&A time as well? With the question and answer time as well?
Sorry?
The total time?
Yeah, the total time 5 minutes.
Okay.
We can make way to
Yes.
7.
7 minutes. Okay. So we'll definitely not get to see the last part, but whatever we didn't get to see, I'd be happy to continue as above or outside of the room, or if anyone's interested and is really disappointed that we didn't get to the end, just come and find us and I'd be happy to go through the rest. So that was a really simple panel page. Handy because you can easily build these pages with a URL like home pages, landing pages, whatever. And show for instance specific home pages, like have different versions of a home page and show different versions depending on different selection criteria that we haven't seen yet. Okay? That's one thing. The next step would be to override one of the available pages. So as soon as you enable the page manager itself, it gives you the option to, for instance, override node %node, which means every path that starts with node / the node ID, meaning every node view. So normally node.tpl.php either from core or your theme is used when rendering any given node, right? But you can say, no, my page system needs to take over that rendering. I'm going to define a panel that needs to be used when any given node is being rendered. Does that make sense? Okay, so the first thing that you would do is enable this. So this exists, you enable this node template. And the first thing that you need to do is make a variant. Variant means different versions of a panel depending on certain conditions. Like in this case, we are overriding the node view, but we may want to have a 2-column panel for articles, article nodes, and a 3-column layout for event nodes. So in this case, we need to have some kind of selection criteria, and we make different versions for the same panel, for the same overriding that we're doing. And that's really simple. So we make our one variant, and we're going to say this is the articles variant, whatever. It's going to be a panel, indeed, and it'll have selection rules. We skip context again for a second. It will have selection rules. It'll basically, we decide when this particular variant version is going to become active. Right? So here we have our selection rules, and these are the list of rules, like the rules module. If anyone has played a little bit with the rules module, it's kind of like this. Here you will have a list of all the criteria, like if this, then show the panel. If this, then show the panel. So you can have a bunch of selection criteria. You can say that all criteria must pass. So the first one and the second criterion and the third criterion, if they all match, then show the panel. Or if one of them matches, the panel will be shown. Either if today is Tuesday, or the user is logged in, or whatever. Okay? By default, these are selection groups, selection criterion groups that you can use. For our purposes, we would make a selection criteria on node type. We're going to say, if the node that we're looking at is an article, then this variant becomes active. Okay? So we say we're going to make a selection rule on the node type, and we're going to say, if the node being viewed is an article. That's it. So this variant will kick in for any node that we're viewing that is an article, and not for any other node. Simple enough. And now we have the same familiar interface. Make this a 2-column, etc., etc. Continue left side and right side. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. We now have stuff, node and token rendering of nodes. The elements on the node that we're looking at are now available to us. So I can say on the left-hand side, I want to see the node created date in this format. And I want the node author also there. And on the right-hand side, I want the node body, for instance. Right? So I'm saying, anytime that we're looking at an article, I want to see a 2-column panel, left-hand side, date and author, right-hand side, body. Okay. So I'm looking at an article, it's now shown like this. I just look at a page, which is not an article, and it's still the normal default rendering that kicks in. Okay, so this was really quick, but these selection criteria let you say, under these conditions, use this panel. Under these other conditions, show this other panel. Okay. A little word of warning. We only have one variant here, but if you have multiple variants, so one panel for this kind of content type and one panel for another kind of content type, and all your panels are listed here. If you're familiar, if you're a coder, is everyone a coder here? PHP programmer? Not really? Okay. Switch case statement. Basically, basically he's going to look at the variants in the order that they are defined here. If these selection criteria, the first ones, if they match, this panel will be used and all the others will be disregarded. If it doesn't match, he tries a second one, a third one. And so the idea is to have, to really make sure that you put them in the right order and have like a default rendering at the bottom, like a fall-through system, where if none of the others match, then this one matches. Okay? Guess time's up. Yes?
It's time to finish.
Yes.
The next topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I have to finish. I have to stop, rather. I don't have to finish, I have to stop. So, closing remark. Get out of here. What did I miss? Okay. What we missed for this section is, so we made a homepage, we made an override of node, whatever nodes. We did look at forms, but the node edit form, many other, or the user edit form, or the user profile works in exactly the same way. So if you say that you want to override the node edit form, then you will have all the node edit forms fields available, and you can put them in those regions. So for me, it's a really handy thing to rearrange long complex forms. If you have node type with lots of fields, a really simple way to rearrange it in exactly the same way. All your fields are available. You just put them in your regions and you save. That's it. Starting from this, I'll show in a follow-up session later on today. There's a nice little user-friendly management GUI, and then there's views integration and some coding. So if you're interested in this, it's all in the slides. So I'll put up the slides with a link to the code for if you don't catch me anymore, but you still want to go explore. Download that, look at it, find me or find Salva, or you find our Twitter accounts there. Contact us on Twitter, and we'll chat and explain what we wanted to explain. Okay? Right. Any burning questions right now? Except find us for the, because it's not true. It's an old.
Is there an improvement about
Yes.
that? I mean, Drupal 8, would that be, I mean, really, it is quite different, in how.
I think it depends on how you build it, but let's have the discussion outside.
All right.
Any other questions? Specific?
It's time to finish.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions,
Yeah,
talk
find us.
outside the room, okay?
Okay.
Or in the coffee break, the next hour. So we need to prepare the next talk in the room. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.